So we have just officially gotten more full specs of the Xbox Series X, Microsoft's next generation Xbox console that is set to release this holiday of 2020, if it's even still possible. So this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, guys, at the end of it. Make sure you subscribe for those of you that are new to the channel, and I will be sure to keep you guys posted with more gaming videos in the future. And also send me down in the comment section down below about how pumped and hyped that you really are for the next generation Xbox Series X and PS5 consoles. So, yeah. So let's get this video out of the way. So earlier this morning, Microsoft had basically just came out and gave us some more information about the full specs of the Xbox Series X. Now, a few weeks ago, they basically confirmed the main specs of the system, of how that it basically has ray tracing put into it, and that it's going to be 12 teraflops of computing power, and saying that it's double the amount of specs over the Xbox One X, which is currently the most powerful console right now on the market. And they have confirmed as well that this Xbox console is the most powerful Xbox console you have ever seen in your life. And I honestly believe Microsoft a lot. As much as they have shown off about this system, I'm seriously really pumped, especially after what I've seen today. So today, they have basically confirmed more specs of it, and it's more information. Now, they haven't confirmed or said anything yet about the Lockhart, which is supposed to be the more affordable next generation Xbox, which is most likely probably going to be called the Xbox Series S or Xbox Series C or some sort of that type of name. But I know it kind of sounds a little bit weird if you honestly ask me, especially with just being a letter at the end of the word, and how they called the second generation Xbox the 360, which is the second Xbox ever made, and then they call this one as the Xbox One. But then again, I don't honestly have a problem with it, because honestly, it's just different names. The names really don't matter to me all that much. But honestly, I don't honestly think that it's a bad name to call the next generation consoles the Xbox. I mean, they basically have confirmed about a few months ago, after the system was originally announced, that the next generation Xbox, even though they're going to have like multiple different Xboxes for next gen, they have confirmed and said that it's just going to be mostly called just Xbox. But if people are trying to get confused and all that, that's why they made it called Series. So if you want the more powerful one, then you're going to have to go to GameStop and you're going to have to say Series X. Or if you want just the affordable one, whatever that they call it, even if they're going to stick with Lockhart, or they're going to call it the Xbox Series S, or whatever that it's going to be called, that's what you'll tell GameStop and all that. And they're supposed to have a different Xbox that's supposed to be like $150, maybe $100 at the cheapest. But it's honestly only going to be called, the xCloud is what the title is going to be called. So I personally, like I said, I cannot wait for the next generation Xbox, because I have had plans for over the last year and a half to get 2 of each of the next gen systems. I'm going to get 2 PS5s and 2 Xbox Series X's. Now, there has been a new rumor and leak that has came around that Sony has still got plans to launch 2 different PlayStation 5 models, and if you want to check out that video that I made recently, feel free to. It's called the Sony launching 2 PS5s, or or something like that. Having two PS5 models at launch is actually what I called it. But yeah, and honestly, I was only going to get two next gen systems, but if they're going to have a base model with a Lockhart and a PS5 base model that's set to release alongside with a PS5 Pro, I might actually end up getting three because I have three gaming setups right now. And you might think that that's weird, and then some of you might honestly think, well, that's kind of pretty amazing. But other than that, yeah, I basically have three setups, and that's going to help out a lot with all three setups that I have. But the Xbox that Microsoft has confirmed, they basically did a video showing off this game on the screen that you're seeing, Minecraft, with ray tracing on. And it's only in a tech demo. So right there basically just gave us some confirmed information. Either Minecraft, they're setting to release a newer version of Minecraft, or the Xbox One version of Minecraft is basically going to be backwards compatible and it's just upgraded like they showed off Gears of War 5. And then speaking of Gears of War 5, they also showed off Gears 5 and how that it's going to be a 4K native console with more better detail and visuals, and the frame rate, instead of being at a locked 30 frames per second or 60 like it is on the Xbox One and X, it actually was managed to get up to 100 frames per second. Now, they have confirmed a few weeks ago when they announced the specs, I meant to say, when they announced that the system was 12 teraflops of computing power, they did officially announce and said that the console will go all the way up to 120 frames per second, which I don't really see a lot of games hitting that target frame rate. I mean, if they're talking about like games like Ori and the Wills of the Wisp, now that's a game that I can honestly see being like a 4K native console game at 120 frames per second. And this game is another game that I also can see at a 4K 120 frames per second. But if you're talking about games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and especially Gears 5 and Halo Infinite and all that good stuff, there's no way in the world that games are going to run at 120 frames per second unless you were to drop the resolution possibly down to 1080p. Now that I can honestly see, but something like with native 4K and 120 frames, that's not going to really work all that well, especially on big open world games like I was mentioning, Halo Infinite, Red Dead 2, and the newer, future games coming out like the newer Call of Duty that's going to be on next gen. Those games are not going to be at like 120 frames per second. But the main target that Microsoft is setting as a goal is to make sure that all games are native 4K as the main standard resolution, basically like how when the current generation PS4 and Xbox One first launched, it was mostly native 1080p as their main target at like 60 frames per second. And then as the generation went through, games had to go as low down to 30 frames per second is what I'm trying to say. But what their main target, as I mentioned, is native 4K as their standard resolution at 60 frames per second, which there's no way in the world that everybody's going to complain like that, because 60 frames, if you still compare to 30 frames, it's still way 10 times smoother than what you possibly think that it is. Honestly, I really would love that. Now, they did have confirmed, now this has been confirmed ever since the Microsoft had announced that at E3 last year that you could possibly go up to 8K resolution. Now, games are not going to be coming out at native 8K, I can already assure you that, unless we get like halfway through the console generations. But that is a future goal that Microsoft is looking forward to, is making sure that games will hit 8K resolution. But mostly as the start of the generation, at least for the first 3 to 4 years, like I was mentioning with the standard Xbox One and PS4, 1080p was their main target and their main focus. And then 3-4 years later, we got a PlayStation 4 Pro and an Xbox One X from both Sony and Microsoft, and it was a 4K game consoles that if you wanted to upgrade to get better visuals on console hardware, then right there was your best choice to get 4K gaming. And 1080p, especially still right now, is their main still focus as the moment, because only like 20-25% of the current generation console owners only have the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro, while on the other hand, you have 75 to 80% of the current generation console owners that still are rocking with the original PlayStation 4 and Xbox One models and even the S models. So not very many people has got the money to go out and buy the upgrade systems. But I personally was one of the luckiest few, and honestly, I really love the PS4 Pro and the One X, especially playing at 4K. So this is what Sony and Microsoft goal is going to be, is native 4K and 60 frames per second. That's their main goal. While on the other hand, like some games like, like arcade type games like Ori and the Will o' Wisp, that game possibly may be a 4K and 120 frames per second. So honestly, it really just makes a lot of sense and all that good stuff. Now, I do have plans to get an 8K TV at some point in time, but I think I'm still going to be rocking with 4K, and I mean, there still ain't even that many people that have 4K TVs right now. Most of the TV owners are still rocking with a 1080p TV as of right now. So the charts that are saying is like around 33% of TV owners have gotten a 4K TV, especially myself. And then you got like 70% of TV owners that are still 1080p because they don't see the worth of the money to going out and buying especially a 8K or 4K TV right at the moment. So mostly 4K, I think, is probably going to be the main focus, and probably for the entire generation. Now, there has been a rumor, especially like I was saying with Sony launching 2 PS5 models at launch and Microsoft launching the Lockhart. Now, I did read a rumor about saying something about how the reason why that Microsoft and Sony are planning on launching 2 models of next-gen consoles at launch is mostly because they want to make sure that the gamers have the options to choose what they want, and once they pick it up, you don't have to worry about buying another system for the whole 7 to 8 years of the console's life cycle. Like how with the PS4 Pro and the One X, they were mid-generation upgrades, and the hardcore gamers went out and especially bought them. Like you have the PS4 Pro that launched at $400 3 years after the launch PS4, and a lot of the hardcore gamers already bought the launch PS4 for $400, and then you're talking about buying another $400 worth of a mid-generation upgrade system, and then it's the same thing with the Xbox One. $500 for the launch Xbox One, and then you have the Xbox One X also at $500. So this, with Sony and Microsoft, we thought was the stupidest thing ever, launching 2 different models at launch, but now it kind of all makes sense now, because they don't want to force you to buy more than one system if you don't want to. So they want to make sure that you have your money's worth and all that. Now, with the launch editions, like the base model PS5 and the Lockhart, they're going to be a little bit more cheaper than the Xbox Series X and the PS5 Pro, but it's giving gamers the option to choose what they want. So you're going to have hardcore gamers like me who are most likely going to get like the PS5 Pro and the Xbox Series X at launch. And then you're going to have some core gamers out there who don't play a lot of games but still play a decent amount of games, and then that puts a decent amount of hours in, that are going to get the lower end consoles because they're going to be affordable, and they're not going to play the system all that much. So the cheaper the price for the less amount of hours, it makes a lot of sense. And then you got the hardcore gamers, like I was mentioning, like me and all the others that go out there and buy it. They're going to put all that time to play the games. So it just makes a lot of sense. And I know that a lot of you are going to most likely agree with me on this. But Yeah, so they showed off the Minecraft on ray tracing with ray tracing on, and like I said, I don't know if it was the enhanced version of the Xbox One being backwards compatible of Minecraft on the Series X, because they did show off Gears 5 looking a lot better and playing smoother. Now, that's just you putting the Xbox One disc in or downloading the Xbox One version of Gears of War 5 onto the Series X. But Minecraft, I would probably guess that Minecraft is probably they're probably launching a re-release version of Minecraft for the next generation consoles, because the Minecraft was originally on the PC, and then a few years later you had it came to the 360 in May of 2012. Then just a little bit in the end of 2013 before the PS4 and Xbox One launch, then you had Minecraft, which launched on PlayStation 3. Then almost after 1 year after the current generation consoles launched, then you have Minecraft, which launched on PS4 and Xbox One. And then in 2017, you have a new re-release version of Minecraft where that supports cross-generation platform play, to where you can play with friends on other platforms. And I will mention about that Sony was a little bit more anti-consumer back then about that, but now Sony has managed to change their decision at the end of 2018, and then on December 12th, 2019, we basically, or not December 12th, but December 10th is what I mean, we now have officially gotten the cross-platform play re-release version of Minecraft on PlayStation 4 systems. Now, I haven't tested out where if they fix the issue to where you can download or put your Microsoft account on the game yet, but there has been a bug ever since the game has released, and it really makes me angry that Mojang has not fixed the issue. But I haven't tried it yet with the last two updates. But the first three updates that Minecraft had on PS4, the Bedrock Edition, it still did not fix the problem to where you can download and put your Microsoft account on Minecraft for PS4. Now, I didn't have no issues with putting my Microsoft account on the Nintendo Switch version of Minecraft, so I honestly don't see how it's been an issue for so long on the PS4 if the Nintendo Switch doesn't have an issue with it, especially since it launched. But yeah, Microsoft has came out and they have given us a lot more specs of the Xbox Series X, and they basically have confirmed a few weeks ago, after they announced the first amount of specs of it being 12 teraflops, that once you buy a game on the Xbox One and you want to play it on the Xbox Series X, if it comes out for Xbox Series X and all that good stuff, you could just put your Xbox One disc in and boom, it's basically the Xbox Series X version, even though you just put the Xbox One copy into your system, which that honestly is massively that's just amazing to do. And Microsoft, with the way that they're approaching the Xbox Series X, they really screwed up with the Xbox One, but with the Xbox Series X, they're really going in the right direction. They are like seriously doing everything that is the complete opposite of the Xbox One review. The Xbox Series X review is way 10 times better, and everybody is getting very, very hyped in the way that it possibly sounds like next generation is not going to be one leading over the other. It looks like it's going to be a fair battle, if you honestly ask me. Now, the 360 was the winner of the 7th generation of consoles because Microsoft did everything right with it. The PS3, the reason why nobody or not as many people bought it as much as the 360 when we were going through its life cycle, it was mostly because of how the cell processor in the PS3 was not all that great as the processor in the 360. When you had games on the 360 that played way more smoother than the PS3, even though with the PS3, with the cell processor, games looked a lot better on the PS3 than they did on the 360, but it wasn't that much of a difference to honestly tell. It was just a slightly bit of crisper, resolution is all it was. mostly if you sit back, the games really looked even, and everybody's seen that, and everybody was like, well, I'll just go out and pick a PS3 or pick a 360 over the PS3 because they know that games ran a lot smoother on there. So then you have the PS4 and Xbox One, where the PS4 was the more powerful console, and it was $100 cheaper than the Xbox One. So that really made Microsoft really mess up big time there. Sony did everything right when they showed off, and Microsoft was trying to say you have to be connected to online at all times in order to play games on Xbox One, even offline, which it still is a little bit like that, even though Microsoft fixed that problem a little bit. There still is Xbox One owners that are still having issues to where if they're not connected to the internet and they're trying to play a game, their game doesn't start up, or it says, please connect to online if you want to play the game, which is still really not that right. And Sony has basically said on their review of the PS4 that it does not require you to be online or anything. If you want to play single offline player games, guess what? You put the disc in, it starts directly up. And that was a smart move from Sony. And then that's another reason that what made the PS4 sell more units and be more successful is because all of that. And if you wanted to share a game, you could sell it or give it to a friend or keep it forever, as they mentioned. So all of that with a cheaper price and a more powerful console, Sony just did everything right with the PS4. And that's the reason why the PS4 has basically sold out of the freaking blue, like so many units that it just is not funny. But instead of them going back and forth with generations, the way it honestly sounds like to me is that it's going to be a fair battle between the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Like, no joke. Like, the consoles are not going to look that much different. They're going to be roughly about even. Like, you're not going to tell a difference between the graphics, the resolution, how the games perform. Everything on the Series X and the PS5 is going to be straight even. There ain't going to be no more of this, like, games running smoother on the 360 and games looking better and more cheaper on a PS4. Like, everything is going to be straight even. And I honestly think that this is going to be a fair battle between both of the next generation systems. And as I mentioned, I am pretty pumped up for both of the Xbox Series X and PS5 consoles. So, yeah, I personally cannot wait until pre-orders start, because once they start, I'm literally going to GameStop and I'm literally putting $500, $600, whatever how much the prices are going to be, even though they still haven't came out and said how much it's going to cost. But whatever it's going to cost, I don't care if it's $700 or $800 or even $500 or $600. Once pre-orders start, I'm immediately going to go to my local GameStop and I'm putting all of that money down, so that way I have the game consoles ready for pre-order. That way, when they launch, I can just go to the store and pick them straight up. So, yeah. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, send me down in the comment section down below of how hyped up you are for the next generation Xbox Series X and PS5 consoles. And also hit a like if you enjoyed this video. And for those of you that are new to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button and I will make sure to keep you guys up to date with more gaming YouTube videos in the future and all that good stuff. So, yeah. So, rate, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you guys on the next video. So, peace out, everybody.